This is the NCASE M3 in its purest unassembled form. While only 19 liters in size, it can fit massive air coolers and very large GPUs. The perfect compact setup that can also shred any engineering workload you can throw at it. But my story with the NCASE actually started long before the M3. Now, I've been a big fan of the NCASE series for a while now. In fact, thanks to Optimus Tech, I got hooked on the NCASE M1 when that first came out, which is this trusty guy right here. With a 3080 Ti, a 5950X, and 64 gigs of DDR4 RAM, it handled everything I threw at it, from gaming to video editing, you name it. But one dead GPU and one dead AIO later, and unfortunately, with what I was throwing at it for AI, video editing, and gaming, it was starting to show its age. That's why when I decided to build my NCASE M3, I knew it was going to have to be able to handle gaming, editing, audio, AI, and any other engineering workload that I threw at it. And before I go through the parts, I will say, yes, I was able to get a lot of these parts before the Ramageddon and the GPU prices got even crazier than they were when I bought them 6 months ago. That being said, I'll go through why I chose the parts that I did, get this built, and of course, let's go engineer some stuff. At the heart of this build is a 9950X 3D with 16 cores and plenty of multi-threaded performance, perfect for any gaming or engineering task, but still able to be cooled well in the NCASE M3. Because money doesn't grow on trees, well, unless you're playing Animal Crossing, I went with the 5080 instead of the 5090, and with 16 gigs of VRAM, it's still more than powerful enough for anything I plan to throw at it. Storage-wise, I have two 2TB 990 Pro NVMe drives from Samsung, one for Windows and the other for immediate data for projects. Now keep in mind for the memory, I did get this back in June 2025, and it is 64 gigs of DDR5 to handle all of the heavy workloads I plan on throwing at it. For the motherboard, I went with the ITX form factor, though honestly in hindsight, I probably would have chosen micro ATX next time for the easier layout and the additional ports it gets you. For power, I went with the Corsair SF1000. In a compact system like this, I wanted clean, reliable power and enough headroom that I wouldn't have to worry about my 5080 peaking at all. For cooling, I'm using the Noctua DH15 Chromax. Honestly, the G2 version hadn't released in the Chromax finish yet when I bought it, otherwise I totally would have gone with that. With all the parts ready, sit back, relax, and let's put this system together. Now, I wish I could say that this build was entirely straightforward and incredibly smooth sailing, but that it was not. In fact, there were two major issues that stood out. So let's rewind to the shot of all our parts and pause it right now. My original graphics card of choice was this 5080 Astral right here, along with this ASUS ITX motherboard right here. In the grader, the Astral fit fine, but in the round, I learned the hard way the front I/O will just block the Astral from fitting properly. And my ASUS motherboard had some serious bend to it that looked more like a finger skateboard, so I had to swap that out. After a few fixes though, things came together nicely, so let's head over to the benchmarks and see what this machine is capable of. While gaming isn't my main focus these days, I still love playing them. In Battlefield 6, after about 20 minutes, CPU temperature peaked right at about 72 degrees, which the DH15 did a great job of not getting excessively noisy or warm. The 5080, meanwhile, peaked at around 67 degrees at only 50% fan speed, and power-wise, we pulled just shy of 300 watts, still comfortably below the 5080's 360 watt TDP. Compiling code is one thing I do a lot of, and the Linux kernel is the perfect benchmark. I was truly amazed that with 32 threads, the 9950X3D averaged around a minute for compilation time. And in between each run, I made sure to have a clean environment so everything would be recompiled and reproducible. DaVinci Resolve is where I do all my video work. The two media encoders and decoder engines on the 5080 help a lot in speeding up renders. And while not every combo or resolution and codec is supported for the CPU and GPU, I was still impressed with the results, especially for the 8K H.265 render. For those who have seen my AI transcription battle video, and even if you haven't, I wanted to see how much faster the 5080 is than my previous 3080 Ti in audio transcription tasks of various lengths. And amongst the three tests, we've had performance gains of 50%, 40%, and 30%. All excellent improvement. Blender makes a great benchmark for 3D work. Our 5080 is almost exactly at the average for other 5080s, but that includes cards with higher factory overclocks than this card. And I included the 5070 Ti and the 5090 for reference, and it's cool to see the 5080 gives us about 60 to 65% of what the 5090 scores for a third of the price. And that is my NCASE M3 build, capable of doing anything that I throw at it, from gaming to engineering and whatever other workload I choose. And there are a few creators that I've always drawn a lot of inspiration from: Optimus Tech, Smaller, Chris Russell Tech, and Machines and More. Now those guys eat, breathe, and sleep ITX and small form factor builds, and I highly recommend you check out their content. And if you're into engineering like this, projects, home labs, Raspberry Pi content, I do all kinds of that stuff on my channel, so don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have questions, I'm always happy to answer them. And as always, I'm Sam the Engineering Man, and I'll catch you all in the next one.